Welcome back to the infamous project, guys. And this is going to be dirty Foxbody jobs focused because, man, I've done a lot of Foxbody work, and I have to say this is probably the dirtiest, nastiest job that I've done on a Fox to date. All right, so I can only imagine how filthy my face looks right now. My whole body is disgusting. Trying to clean up the underside of DECH number 5 here. Now, if you guys remember, this was an extremely rusty car to the point where I almost just threw in the towel and said, you know what, this car is going to become parts, and that's it. So even Dale had it on the forklift. This thing was getting dragged out of here, and that was going to be the end of it. I went back to Dubai, decided the car's going to get saved, and Dale was nice enough to strap or get enough stuff in it to make it rollable and sent it off to Boogie's shop. Now, Boogie's main objective was to do the body and paint, which he did a fabulous job on, and we're kind of doing this project backwards because normally you would probably address your rust issues and the floor and everything else before you do your body and paint. But in this case, in this case, because I wasn't around, I sort of had to do it the other way. So Boogie cut out quite a bit of metal. He fixed the frame rails, fixed a couple areas in the back in the spare tire well, the rocker panels, a couple spots on the floor pans, which I showed at the one update video at his shop. So all that stuff was generally taken care of. Now you can see I do have the K-member out, got the rear end out, and I'm going to go ahead and clean the whole underside of the car while I'm sanding it and trying to get all of the rust, the loose rust and debris out. So you can see stuff like this, trying to clean that up. I'm going to get the rest of, all of this grime and maybe once upon a time some undercoat. I knew this was a rusty car, and to be honest, a car that has rust to this degree, I feel like the only way that you're ever going to get rid of it totally is if you got the car dipped. And this is why I said I'm not trying to make this car perfect. And this is sort of like a project circumstance, right? So we're all in different circumstances with our projects. Some of us are limited by budget. Some of us are limited by time. Some of us are limited by resources, experience, a lot of things. So we do the best that we can with the situation that we have. Now, will this car last forever? Probably not. Can we get another 10, 20, maybe 30 years out of it? Absolutely. And that's my intention with this build. For the sake of this project, I wanted to bring it back the way that it is. And I think that this actually represents what a lot of people, what a lot of you guys are dealing with out there. It's really hard to find a super clean Fox. And if you're looking for one, maybe it's out of your budget. So you're going to deal with some rust, you're going to deal with some issues, and I think that this is the perfect example to show you guys what you can do to increase the potential longevity of your Fox. So this rust isn't even really that bad. A lot of you guys get into full floor pans, frame rails, frame replacement pieces, so on and so forth, and we don't even necessarily have to do that with this car. What do you think, Brayton? You've seen worse, right? You've seen worse Chevys.
No, come on. No, come on. That's pushing it. No, this is a very clean car for what it is.
So there was tons of rust in here, and I am just amazed at where I've come in probably about 2 hours worth of work. Now you can see in the wheel wells on both sides, those are already black. So the body shop took care of those when they did the car, but everything else on, the wheel wells inward all needs to be taken care of. So I have been grinding with a little die grinder. I have been, scraping, scrubbing, using some spray nine as my degreaser and cleaner of choice with Scotch pad and rags and everything else, getting this thing ready for what I'm going to use. I was going to use POR 15, but we got this DOM 16 that's sitting here in the shop, and it's pretty much the same in terms of what it does. So it goes on, kills rust, seals out moisture. You can paint this right on rusted metal. So even though you can paint this right over rust, the more prep that you do, the better the outcome that you're going to get. So by going up with the die grinder, getting all the scale, the loose rust, and all of the places that I can reach is extremely important, because I do want this car to last for, the next 15, 25 years, whatever it might be. And, the car's not going to be seeing any more winters or any of that. All the major areas where there was holes got cut, got welded. So it's a lot of scale, a lot of scab and surface rust areas that this DOM 16 is going to seal up and not only make the underside look really nice, but it's going to keep rust from coming back. Once this is all done and sealed up, I am going to be getting the bubblegum Pro Form undercoat that we used on the Super Noof car, and get it all sprayed inside all of the holes and the nooks and the crannies after the case, just because even though I'm putting on this product, I'm not going to be able to get it inside the frame rails or in tight little nooks and crannies. So the car is going to get treated like it's going to be driven in the winter, but it's not going to be winter driven. All the doors, the rockers, they've already been drilled out for undercoating nozzle access. So we'll be using all of those and getting this thing rust proofed so it can last a long time. One super cool thing that I want to show you guys is, here's our one of our front springs. And this is one of the newer DECH springs that is the SPF 2, which these guys are 1,000 pounds per inch. You can see all the scab here. So it's cool that the part number is actually still on here. So for every 1,000 pounds, this will compress an inch, which is one of the highest spring rates that were ever made for a Fox body. In fact, when DECH had these released, they were, I believe, the highest spring rated aftermarket spring you could get. But what I wanted to show you guys, which was cool, is on the rear spring. Amazingly enough, part number is still there, and we can see it was made, I'm assuming this is the 30th week of 1999. So this would have been actually one of the last springs that would have been produced. DECH closed down in the year 2000. So it's kind of cool to see such a piece of history. So one other thing, because I've been blabbing on long enough, might as well show you guys the motor. And it's coming along nice. If I don't do a follow-up on this guy as a whole, there you guys have it. So it's coming out really nice. I'm waiting for one more GT40 gasket so I can get the upper bolted on. Just got to get some accessories detailed and painted up. We'll be able to get all those in place, and really excited for this one. Got a nice Calypso back here. So this is a gentleman out of the Greater Toronto area, and he had this in so that I could restore his trim for him. So I did the wiper cowl, all the windshield, door, mirrors, handles, quarter windows, everything. So came out really, really nice. The car's a little dirty right now, but nice little coupe. It's got black interior. Look at that. Real nice shape. So you can see, been busy. Lots of things going on here. So we're gonna get back to the number 5 car here tomorrow. Because yeah, I'm beat after everything that's happened today. I got dirty enough for one day. So you can see trying to, and I still got quite a bit of, some areas here to touch up, but getting all that factory overspray, dirt, debris, everything else. You can see some of the rust here. shaping, and got a couple little patches here. Gonna have to clean up a few things before going ahead and putting that surface down, but gives you guys a really good idea of what you're in for, and it is a filthy, filthy, filthy job. Dirty, dirty, dirty jobs, guys. And for any of you that have done this without a lift, kudos, hats off to you guys, because other than the fact, you know, your arms go a little numb, well, it wouldn't matter if the car's on jack stands or whatever it is, but man, it's a messy job. So you can see here, transmission tunnel, everything is scuffed up. I'm not so worried about this stuff as long as it's been, you know, scraped. I'll just double check and make sure a couple areas that are a bit larger, or that the die grinder hasn't got, or at least roughed up. I will make sure that I go over those spots, but you know, taking all of the original primer off isn't a necessity. So few little patches I need to do here. Gonna patch this guy up. Just gonna cut this out and put a little patch in here. Same thing right here. All right, guys, I know my face is probably still dirty. I haven't even looked in the mirror, but just cutting up a few pieces of steel here. I made these little templates and labeled them. So I'm gonna have to go and do some forming, but this guy will fit up in here like so. I'm gonna try and get it tucked underneath that pinch weld. I'll get all this ground out and treated as much as possible. And then get that one done. Exact same thing on the other side. So that's those two. And then got this spot right here to take care of. So I'll get that done as well. And that'll conclude the patching requirements for the floor of the car. All right, guys, that was a shit ton of work in terms of sanding and cutting and welding and grinding and everything, trying to get the underside of this car ready for a coat of something. And initially I was like, I'm going to use POR. And then Dale said, oh, I got this Dom 16 sitting here in the shop. And man, I totally started overthinking the process. And I know I keep telling you guys I'm not trying to make this thing perfect, but at the same time, I'm not trying to cut corners either. So I started doing some research, and there isn't much on Dom 16. It's a Canadian product made by Dominion Sure Seal, who is formerly, or still is, Rust Check. So same company. The product is very, very similar to POR, but it is a little bit different in terms of the ingredients. So I called them up because my concern was, although there is a lot of rusty areas to make sure that are coated and as much rust preventative measures are taken, there's actually quite a bit of clean surface underneath here. Pretty much like the entire floor pan from the back to the few little areas that we had to cut some areas out and weld in some patches. So with that said, I wanted to make sure that if I was going to use Dom 16 on the whole underside, that if I'm putting it direct to metal, even though that it is, you know, everything underneath here has been severely sanded down, pretty much with an 80 grit disc, right? But they advised me it's really just meant for rust, which means go ahead, put it on the rusty surfaces, which we got a lot, you know, like all this area here, you know, these patches here and under there, you know, bottom sides of the frame rails, all this type of stuff. I can brush all the DOM 16 in, and everything should be good. It'll stick, it'll coat, it'll do its job. The problem is, once I get further ahead here, you know, in all this shiny area, now I can put some DOM here, put some there, and but the rest, they said, you know, use a 2K epoxy primer. So I do have some here. It's black. What is it? It's Proform, and I'll most likely have to do a combination. So DOM 16 in the rusty areas, let it set up, do a second coat, and then before it fully hardens, I can go ahead and spray the epoxy primer on. And then once that's on, I'll probably do like a single stage black paint, something satin. You know, I don't want to get too technical with it, but at the same time, I don't want the coating to peel off after some time, and B, I don't want to waste money or more time trying to get all the rust out, because it's just, you're not going to get all the rust out at this point unless you really start cutting and replacing everything, which means I should have just got a different tub. So you can kind of see how you need to pick the best path with your project, because, you know, one way just can be completely unrealistic. Another way, again, we don't want to cut corners and, you know, make all the hard amount of time that we've spent go to waste. So we need to be smart about the project at the end of the day. And well, that's what I'm going to do. So we'll DOM 16 what needs to be DOM'd. We will 2K epoxy prime the other areas. We'll spray everything with a satin black, but it's going to take some time. We'll get to it next time. In the meantime, I've been working on all the suspension components, trying to get everything prettied up. Control arms are done. I sandblasted. These are the ones that actually came out of the car, and I sandblasted those. They came up really nice, and they are coated up. Those springs, I think I'm going to use those rear ones, but those front ones, I'll explain that later in the next video, just not to confuse you guys with everything that's going on. Got the grabbers all blasted up and painted, so letting those guys dry, and working on the K-member and on the diff out here. No easy feat, just deciding to clean up, sand up, paint up the underside of your Fox body. A lot of time and work is involved in doing it. And again, apologies it hasn't been able to get all done in one video, but you can't win them all. So hopefully in the next video, we'll have this thing painted up and a whole bunch of suspension components that'll be ready to get bolted back in. And fingers crossed, this guy will be a roller again in the next video. So we'll see you guys next time. Thank you for all your support following along, and we'll see you soon. So after a lot of dishes, a lot of elbow grease, preparation, and all of that good stuff, I almost have everything ready to go back into the car.